Hi, for the Erich Fromm class, we're making these videos titled Notes to Self. So this is basically information I've come across that resonated with me and something I wish I would have known in the past and what I want to make sure I keep in mind for the future. And I took this class as a sophomore, and what completely blew my mind was when Erich Fromm talked about the having and being modes of conversation, of conversing with another. And I'll just go ahead and read it to you because it just blows my mind. It says, when people are in the being mode of conversing, they respond spontaneously and productively. They forget about themselves, about the knowledge, the positions they have. Their egos do not stand in their own way. It is precisely for this reason that they can fully respond to the other person's and the person's ideas. They give birth to new ideas because they're not holding on to anything, and can thus produce and give. While the having persons rely on what they have, the being persons rely on the fact that they are alive, and that something new will be born if they only have the courage to let go and respond. That to me was insane, because even as up until sophomore year, I do it now, let's not even pretend like I've mastered this being mode of conversing, but I'm the kind of neurotic person where I'd get nervous about a conversation with someone or a presentation or an interaction or anything. And my way of coping with that was to prepare something. So either prepare, a path that a conversation could follow, or try to think of lines that I could, use if something felt a little awkward. But what ended up happening is I wasn't actually there in the moment. I was still stuck up in my head, and the person I was trying to interact with was just some weird actor in my own play that I was putting on for myself. And I didn't even know I was doing this, much less that it was, that there's this whole other way of conversing where you synthesize something new, you create something. And I think that, God, that's just the coolest thing ever, if you can actually let go of, insecurities and what you think the world should be like and what you think you should be like, and then, be there and be alive and then interact with someone else, then, God, that's just the way to do it almost. If you can have the courage to let go and then to respond, you can create something new, and I think that's absolutely incredible. And that, to me as a sophomore, was my biggest takeaway from the class almost. And now as a senior, looking back on it, I've been reading some of the loving stuff, and that's not more important now, but I've known the conversing thing for a while and thought about it for a couple years, and now the loving, I think it's really interesting how Fromm describes it. He says, to love is a productive activity. It implies caring for, knowing, responding, affirming, enjoying the person, the tree, the painting, the idea. It means bringing to life, increasing his, her, its aliveness. It is a process, self-renewing and self-increasing. And that to me, once again, that's the goal. That's what you want to work for, that productive love, if you can get there. But there's something about the language of the conversing section that really resonated with me. I think if you almost overlay that on the loving, there's something there. If you have the courage to let go of your ego, and if you forget about yourself and respond spontaneously and productively and let go of what you think you should be or the other person should be or the way your relationship should be, because I'm a big shoulder. I always think, this should be this way, it's not this way, so there must be something wrong with what we have going on. That's what I do. But if you can let go of all of that stuff that you have and just be there and rely on what you are, as scary as that is to open up and be vulnerable, especially with love. It almost, to me, growing up, it felt like love is this really abstract thing that someone will come along and it'll be the right time, the right situation, it'll be fate or whatever, and things will just work, and there's nothing really, I always thought that there's nothing you can do to speed up the process except just kind of be there. But Fromm argues that loving is incompatible with being passive. You need to be active, you need to strive towards it, and the way to do that, he actually says, is that one owns power to love produces love, just as being interested makes one interesting. So he says people are concerned with the question of whether they are attractive, while they forget that the essence of attractiveness is their own capacity to love. So it's not like a passive thing. And he even goes on to say to love productively is incompatible with being passive, with being an onlooker. You have to be like fully in it and committed. And I think, well, like, one for me, okay, quit waiting for someone to come along. You need to actively strive for this. That's like big takeaway number one. And part of that is having the courage to let go and to respond, even as scary as it is. And I think with loving of all things, that's the time when we're most vulnerable. So if you open yourself up and expose yourself to that, like, God, that's scary. But if you have the courage to let go and to be there and to respond and to give birth to something new and increase their aliveness and increase your aliveness in a process of self-renewing and self-increasing, then like that's incredible. That's the holy grail of love. That's what you want out of life. Or at least that's what I want. So basically, that's a long-winded way of saying that, kind of taking three parts together of it's not passive, it's active, you have to work for it. That you know, take the same thing I learned about conversing and just like letting go of what you think things should be like in yourself and forgetting that and just being there. Then if you do that, then with love you can get this other beautiful, amazing thing. So that's what's been on my mind. It probably will be for years and years and years and years. But it's just something to think about. So thanks for watching.